Good morning, everybody. I'm Larry Weishuhn. If you enjoy real-world hunting and fishing talk, you're really going to enjoy listening to my good friend, Luke Clayton, and his guest for the next hour.
This is David Fox, and welcome to Outdoors with Luke Clayton and Friends. Luke has been a recognized outdoors writer for the past 3 decades and writes for a host of outdoor publications. Luke pens a weekly newspaper outdoors column that appears in over 40 Texas newspapers. Luke is on the pro staff of Pyramid Air, your one-stop shop for everything air gun related. Smoking techs, electric smokers, feel free to contact Luke through his website, catfishradio.org. Now let's join Luke and his guests for this week's show.
Thank you guys for that nice introduction, and folks, welcome to our show. We've got some fun talk coming up today, and we're going to start off like we always do with Mr. Larry Weishuhn. He's out in far west Texas on what I consider a really unique and exciting hunt. Larry, thank you for being with us today, buddy.
Luke, I'm excited to be with you as well, too, and I'll be very open with you. I'm excited to find a spot up here on the Shinati Peak where I can actually get cell reception. I'm in far west Texas, down in the Big Bend country right now, and I'm down here hunting the Carmen Mountain Whitetail with Steve Jones with Backcountry Outfitters. I've hunted with Steve several times in the past. Matter of fact, I hunted this ranch a whole bunch of years ago as well, too, for Little Carmen Mountain. But before I tell you a little bit about that, we need to remind folks that thanks to DSC Conservation Education and Hunter Advocacy, and want to remind everybody that February, I think it's the 6th, 7th, and 8th of February is when the convention is going to be this year in Atlanta. There's still time to plan to get there, and look forward to seeing everybody there. And of course, I always have to thank Hornady, accurate, deadly, dependable, and I am trying my best to put that to good use out here and using my stealth vision binoculars and scope, and I even brought a little bit of Vineyard Max to put out, and then I brought my Taurus handguns as well too to try to call and hunt javelina here before this hunt's over with. But going back to the Carmen Mountain Whitetail, it's a little subspecies. For years it was called the fantail, and some people still call it a fantail. It's found only in the mountains of West Texas, and then just right below the Rio Grande there in Mexico at elevations of 4,500 feet and above. Now, occasionally somebody will shoot a deer around Del Rio, and it's not as big as most of the deer, and they go, "Man, I killed a Carmen Mountain Whitetail." Well, no, actually you didn't, because you have to get way down into the mountains and west of there to find those little Carmen Mountain Whitetails. And the interesting thing is, arguably, and I'll argue this with even other biologists if they want to, that it may well be the smallest of the white-tailed deer subspecies in North America. Normally they talk about the key deer down in Florida being really small. Well, I've been fortunate enough in years past to have hunted the little Carmen Mountain whitetails in both in Texas and in Mexico, and the field dressed weight of those bucks that I've shot, I shot one time that weighed 45 pounds after we pulled the insides out. Another one that weighed about 60 pounds after I pulled everything out. So, I mean, we're talking about a deer that's 100 pound on a really big deer, and their tails are actually longer than what our regular whitetails are. And when they throw that tail up and hold it up and wave it, I mean, it looks like the sail on a sailing ship. It's absolutely huge. Antlers, of course, because their body sizes are not that big, don't really get all that big. And what most people would consider a good 2-year-old deer in even unmanaged country would probably be a pretty darn good Carmen Mountain Whitetail. So fun to hunt, great country. I'm here, like I said, with Steve Jones and Jeff Johnson from up at Oklahoma. Jeff's been a friend for a long time. And then the other hunter at camp is Fred Eichler, and people who watch TV and spend time having hunted in Colorado probably know Fred as well too. So having a great time here. A couple of guys will tell you, one of those guys that's taken a deer. We'll try to talk about that a little bit later as well too. I'm still looking. I'm looking for a good one that will score all of about maybe 80 to 100 Boone and Crockett points.
You know, Larry, I know most of what I know about the Carmen mountain whitetail I've learned from you. I've read a little bit on my own. I've had zero firsthand experience, but I had no idea that they were like or the size of or smaller than the Florida Keys deer. I had no idea they were that small. That's amazing, and how they've adapted to that particular elevation, the 4,500. And
Right.
how they've just become a subspecies, and that's about the only place, am I right, that you're going to find them? Or
You're only going to find them in West Texas, and then down into the mountains like the Azul Mountains and the Del Carmen's down in Mexico, just right below the really the big part of the Big Bend, the part of Texas, and of course they're in the Big Bend National Park as well too. Interesting thing is there are mule deer out here as well, and of course there've been elk and been coming into this area a lot, and there are a lot of aoudad out here as well too. But generally, you find those mule deer. You would think you'd find them up in the mountains, where you find them more in the lower country, and then you find those little Carmen Mountain whitetails up in the very top. Years ago, I hunted an area over between Alpine and be southwest of Alpine, and interestingly, there we found little Carmen Mountain whitetails way up high. You found the mule deer, and there were regular whitetails, and I'm sure there was some crossing going on with all of those, but you'd find those much lower than what you did the little Carmen Mountain whitetail.
It's such an isolated place, and there's probably not, there's probably a whole lot of deer hunters that's probably never heard of them. I know very little about them, but it's an intriguing deal. I guess there are hunting opportunities out there, maybe with, the outfitter you're talking about, your friend out there. But you'd probably have to do some homework, most hunters, before heading out for those Carmen whitetail, right?
Exactly. There's a couple of outfitters. I say a couple. There are probably several of them down in Mexico as well too. And years ago when I hunted in that area, I actually got to hunt the Del Carmens. But I was there with a landowner who had a bunch of land down south of Eagle Pass, and he said, "Hey, would you like to go hunt Carmen Mountain whitetails?" He was a Mexican citizen, spoke very great English, and had a degree in wildlife and agriculture from Texas A&M University as well too. So, but he had taken over his family's ranches down there, and so I got to go spend a couple of days with him down in the mountains, and absolutely gorgeous down in those areas. And of course, the Shinatis are right on the border of the Rio Grande. If you get to the top of where I am now and look down, you can almost, if you can't, and probably in some spots you can probably see the Rio Grande as well too.
Is that are you more or less up on the side of the mountains using binoculars and spotting them out like?
Yes, it's a lot like hunting the little coos or cows whitetail that I love to do. But you spend a gosh awful amount of time glassing. Got good spotting scope. Of course, got my stealth vision spotting scope and rangefinder binoculars kind of thing. And because of some of the little issues I had a little earlier back in September and October, I'm not as good at crawling as I was in the past. So I'm telling you, those binoculars and that range-finding scope, or not range-finding scope, but that scope that I can crank up to shoot 400 yards, I think it's going to come in really handy out here.
That's amazing, Larry. Yeah, the stealth vision, those scopes, I've got one, on my I have a CVA 6.5 PRC, and I feel very comfortable. I haven't taken. I think the farthest deer I ever shot in my life is a rarity for me, but it was out in far west Texas, a mule deer, desert mule deer at 427 yards. We ranged it, but it was a
long way.
It was a long, long way, and I was with a guy, Larry. I've told you about it. He had a pre-64 Model 70, and he was a wealthy dude. He was a good old boy. Had a bunch of land out there, and he loaned me that. I was out there with a muzzle loader, and I couldn't get within 200 yards of any mule deer. He loaned me that thing, and I was in his Jeep. Was up on a mountain, and there was a water hole down there. And I had my rangefinder with me at the time, a little Bushnell rangefinder, and ranged it and 2 or 3 times, and yeah, it was 426 yards. And I looked at him. I said, that's far. That's twice as far as I've ever shot a deer. He said he told me, he said, here's what you do. And he had that thing sighted in, I forget exactly, but way higher than what I was used to. And I said, well, where would I hold? And I said, I can do the mechanics of it, but I have no idea where to hold. He said, you hold don't hold over the top of the back. You hold right on the top of the back. Don't hold over. I remember him telling me that. And put a coat down on the hood of that old Jeep. He had an old Army Jeep that remodeled,
Oh my gosh, yes.
We way up there high, and I had what I call a dead rest in that rifle. Probably a 2-pound trigger pull, It was
man.
It was just it was a rifle. He'd spent a lot of money on that old rifle. He had. So bam, and that deer but that's the farthest I've ever shot. But let's get current with the Stealth Vision scopes. 2 years ago, you and I were down there with Dr. McCall and Joe Cunningham and Matt Burgess and all those guys. And they rigged your rifle was already set up with one. I got one on mine, and dinging those targets way out there. Not that I planned to shoot a deer as far as we were shooting 1,000 yards and all that,
exactly.
but I feel real comfortable with a very good rest. 400 yards. No, I feel very comfortable with that setup. You just dial the 400 on your scope and get steady and start your trigger pull. So you're going to get one. I've seen you shoot with a Stealth Vision and crank out those different yardages. I think it's time to think about some Carmen Mountain backstrap pretty soon, Larry.
I will try to bring some of it back. As I recall from years ago, it's been probably, 20 years since I shot one.
Yeah.
But as I recall, it was absolutely delicious. So, we got some hunts coming up here for too very long there up in your part of the world, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll try to bring some of that with me just in case. And not that we're going to need it, because I know we're going to be shooting some does and that kind of thing for backstrap, but I'd love for you to try this. And I know you've still you're after that oryx, so hopefully,
yes.
Maybe you'll have to tell about a hunt about that here for too very long as well too.
You bet, Larry. Yes, up at the Choctaw Hunting Lodge, there's a herd of oryx. You and I both. You were kind of we hunted together, and you were doing a lot of the filming and all that, and. You know a whole lot more about oryx than old Luke does, but you're helping me pick out the right one to shoot. And we spent our time, and anybody thinks that's an easy hunt. It can be very easy. They can come out, you can do it. But I was using a big bore air rifle, a Tex Rex made by Air Force Air Guns, and it just didn't happen, but that's on my list. I want the hunt, the pictures for an article, and I want some of that oryx meat, Larry. It's
delicious, isn't it?
Yes, sir. Well, good luck on your hunt, and I'll expect a full report. I want see some pictures soon.
Absolutely, and I'll holler at you when I start heading home for this hunt and let you know, and then we'll let people know in a future episode as to how that hunt actually turned out.
Excellent, Larry. We'll have fun. Folks, I want to introduce you to Vineyard Max. Now, this is an awesome deer attractant, a food attractant that's made with hammer-milled grape skin, dried hammer-milled grape skins. It has a mixture of rice bran and also corn chops. Very effective. Deer can smell the scent of grapes from a long way, and it brings them in. I've used it in West Texas out with Larry Weishuhn, and we were out there where deer are not even exposed to grapes, and they came right in. Also, Vineyard Max has a very good line of game and fish feeders. Check them out online, vineyardmax.net. Friends, Mr. Larry Weishuhn is going to tell you about the finest hunting optics that we have ever found.
Luke, these are called Stealth Vision. They come from Crockett, Texas. Dr. John McCall developed them. They're 34 millimeter tubes as opposed to the narrower tubes, so more light transmission. They have a little green light that comes on. That scope is leveled because that's when you want to pull the trigger. They have an optional lighted reticle as well too, and a whole lot of other products. And folks can learn more about them by going to stealthvision.com.
Folks, this segment is made possible by Smoking Tex electric smokers that I've been using a long, long time. I want to tell you about a one-stop shop for everything related to game feeders and fish feeders, Ultramatic feeders. I've been using components and feeders from Ultramatic feeders for 20-something years, I guess. They have the remote, which you can remotely activate your feeder with, the timer, which is the most simple timer that I've ever found on a game feeder, and then the eliminator. Check these out. They are worked on actually on centrifugal force, and they seal off the corn supply so coons and squirrels can't get to the corn. Check them out. Ultramatic feeders, you could go online to ultramaticfeeders.com. Well, folks, what do you say we head out to New Mexico? I've got a friend, Mr. Harry Wood, that's been guiding out in New Mexico for close to 40 years, 37, I think. And if you're a bow hunter, I want you to pay special attention because there's some awesome mule deer hunting out there in New Mexico. I've known about this for a long, long time, but Harry's been doing it a long, long time. Harry, thank you for being with us, buddy.
Oh, it's great to be with you again, Luke. Thank you for having me.
Yes, sir. I always enjoy getting you on. And a lot of what we do here on this radio show is I'm all about connecting people with opportunities and learning new things. But the truth is, out in New Mexico, I won't call it a budget hunt, but people they think, well, I'm going mule deer hunting out west. I'm going to have to lay out several $1,000s to go. That's not the case with you. And folks, this is not a startup deal. Harry's been doing this for years, but you got a big private ranch out there. And I guess probably is it a drop camp thing that you're working with now out there?
It is. It's a drop camp, yes, sir. Yeah,
tell us all about it, if you would.
Sure. It's on the ranch is a little over 9,000 acres, and it's really prime mule deer country. I've had it leased for over 30 years. The hunt is between January 1st and the 15th. We do 5-day hunts there. Provide a heated tent camp for you with all your gear, propane lights, your cots, pretty much everything. You have to bring your own food, do your own cooking. Mm-hmm. I show you all around the ranch and help you as much as I can with helping you to get your deer out and all that sort of thing. You're able to bring an ATV or a 4x4. Mm-hmm. You would actually need a 4-wheel drive to get around on the ranch. Good ranch roads, but you need a 4-wheel drive to get in and out of there. And this hunt is during the rut. It's archery only, and the license is over the counter, $340. The hunt itself is $1,800 per man. And I'll put my price up against any West Texas hunt. It's just a great hunt.
It is, and it's a bargain. And I'll say this: I know all of our folks listening will agree with me. It's hard to book a desert mule deer hunt out there in West Texas now. It's really hard to get a spot, and if you do, it's not going to be for $1,800.
No, that's right. That's what I'm saying. I'll put that up against about anybody. I try to cater more to the working type guy, Luke. Yep. I am a working type guy.
Yep, me too. And a lot of people listening can relate. Yeah. I mean, it's and I'm not bashing this, but if a person has $4,000, $5,000, $6,000 to lay out on a hunt, go for it. I'd like to see money spent in the outdoors, but if you don't, here's something that's that is really of value. Describe how of course, you don't know how every individual hunt is going to happen, but how you hunt. Are you hunting over?
Mostly what it is, we do a lot of spot and stock. You can prowl around in your vehicle and glass, and then spot a buck and go and put a move on them. We do a lot of that, and then just hiking up onto the tops and stuff. And then in the afternoons, we like to set water sources. I've got a lot of troughs and dirt tanks around the ranch that the mule deer come to midday during the rut. And we also do a lot of calling and rattling at that time. Yep. Those mule deer come to the horns.
They will. Larry Weishuhn, we just got through visiting with Larry, as we do each week in Campfire Talk, but I've been with Larry quite a bit. I've killed several mule deer, mostly desert mule deer in my life, but and a few Rocky Mountain mule deer. But Larry is I don't think there's anything magic to it, but he uses a predator call and I know you have.
I do too. I do a lot of calling, Luke, and it blows people's minds how they'll come to a call.
I wonder, the does especially, and I don't, I've seen them call. I've done it myself, but also I guess bucks come in too to a predator call.
Yes, they do, and especially during this January hunt when they're with the does. The does will bring the bucks right into them.
So that's an option right there, isn't it? I guess
it is. And what I like, another trick that I kind of use is we got net wire fencing around the ranch, and I'll get up against one of those fence lines and I'll just kick on that wire and blow on that call, kind of like a fawn in distress, something that's caught there in the fence. I've had them come right down the fence line right there to us, and it just blows the hunters' minds when it happens. But they'll really come to a call. Well,
I was shocked when this is, I don't know, several years ago when Larry and I were out in West Texas, Larry Weishuhn, and he'd been telling me about this method, and I coming from Larry, I said, okay, I've just never seen it done or never partook of it, and by golly, we watched some does from a long way, from probably, I don't know, 400 yards come in, and they came right on into us. That's pretty amazing, and it's an exciting way to hunt.
It is.
Yep. But a person like me, probably, I'd be wanting to really lock in on one of those water holes. And now, describe where in New Mexico, Harry, are we talking?
Yes, the ranch is located between Artesia and Mayhill, the town of Mayhill, kind of in southeastern New Mexico. It's the foothills of the Sacramento Mountains.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
So say I wanted to come, I'd book a hunt with you. I'd meet you out there. I have a feeling I've hunted some drop camps in my lengthy hunting career. You would probably take me to the show me where my headquarters was. And then spend a little time, and I'm going to be full of questions. Well, what do you think? Is there water holes or a tank here, there? Then you'll probably do some driving and scouting, right?
Exactly. We'll take you all around the ranch, and then I also have my camp right there with you. I have a camp set there right with my drop camper, so I'm there for anything that we need, any questions you have. I'm available for about anything you need to know about the ranch or any type of hunting there. And another thing is, Luke, I'm a bow hunter myself, so I know what it takes for the bow hunters to be successful.
Harry, I used to, for about 7 years, I've told you this, me and Larry Large, who was a guide up in Lake Fork. Larry and I outfitted elk and bear hunts in north of Steamboat Springs for about 7 years. And here's what would always throw me a loop. The guys would come in, mostly they were after elk. The bear were so plentiful that you could get a bonus tag for little or nothing, really, over the counter for bear. There are lots and lots, and still lots of bear up there. But they would come in and they want, everybody usually spends some time at the range. And what I wanted to see is somebody shoot a good group out to maybe 40 yards. I mean, of course, I'm not a Western. I grew up shooting in the woods, but I've been on the Matthews Pro staff. I've shot a bow a whole bunch. But they want to get out there 60, some of them 65 yards, and they could group just fine,
Yes, sir.
But that's just a person. I'd say, look, what I want to see you do is be able to shoot inside 40 yards max. And some
Sure.
of it so much can happen with an arrow. I don't know. I always thought it to consistently keep them in a 6-inch group. If you can do that at 40 yards, or I'll even say this, keep them always in an 8-inch group. Always. It's 40. You're ready to go elk hunting.
Yeah, that's right. Yes, sir.
Yep. So how the shots out there? Do they are long shots a norm?
You can make some longer shots, but then when we're setting the water holes and that sort of thing, those mostly are we have brush blinds and ground blinds we put up. Most of those shots are 20 to 30 yards.
My kind of
yeah.
Because the percentage is so high on putting the meat on the meat pole at those kind of shots. And anybody that's ever trailed, done a lot of tracking and trailing, that's not a whole bunch of fun. How about, just out of curiosity, on that ranch, bear and elk? Is there a good population of those out there?
We have some elk that come onto the ranch. They migrate onto the ranch for the winter range and stuff. And a guy can see some elk when he's there, but don't plan on it.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Do you
2 weeks ago we saw 4 bulls, and then last week we had another rifle deer hunt. And we didn't see any of them on the same ranch. So they come and go.
Right. And are bear common out in that part?
No. The bear are up higher. No, they don't. No, sir, they're up in the higher country. This is about 6,800 where the ranch is. They're 6,800. Yes.
Right. And another curious thing is birds. You have any turkey or?
We got turkey, yes, sir. Yeah, they're not really much where we do our deer hunting. I've got a river that runs through the ranch, and the turkeys seem to hang along the river there in the cottonwoods. Yeah, we do some spring turkey hunts for Miriam turkey.
Oh, yeah, somebody. Yes. Folks, we're about to leave the contact information for Mr. Harry Wood here, and I want you to think about grabbing a pencil. And, of course, Harry, this, after all of our great radio stations runs this now, it becomes a podcast. And that podcast is Catfish Radio with Luke Clayton and friends. So if you miss it or miss anything, folks, you can go to Spotify, Apple, iHeart, all of those, and seek out that podcast and listen to it. But how do folks call you that might want to talk to you and pick your brain and maybe come out there and hunt with you in January?
Well, sure. They can reach me at my home phone is 903-536-7130, or my cell phone is 512-968-4430. I have a Facebook page, Harry Wood Guide and Outfitter, and I also have a website, Harry Wood Guides, GUIDES.com.
Harry Wood Guides.
Yes, sir.
Well, Harry, you're easy to track down, buddy, and thanks for this information. I know there's some folks out there that want to go mule deer hunting. Folks, here's your chance. Give Harry a call. I highly recommend him. He's been doing this a long time. And we'll maybe after the hunt get you back and let's do a recap of how things turned out there. How about that?
That would be great, Luke. We'd sure like to see anybody come out with us. We'll treat you right, and I assure you'll leave as being a good friend of mine.
Folks, let's talk a little outdoor cooking. Let me tell you about an electric smoker that I've been using for 15 years, I guess. Smoking Tex electric smokers. If you're tired of staying up all night keeping that wood fire burning when you're barbecuing, give Smoking Tex a try. They're made to last a lifetime. You can check them out at smokingtex.com. That's SMOKINTEX.com. For seasonings, anything to do with outdoor cooking, all kind of jerky seasonings, sausage seasonings, Butcher Packer Supply. That's butcherpackersupply.com. I think the website is butcher-packer.com.
Big Sam left Seattle in the year of 92 with George Pratt, his partner, and brother Billy too.
Friends, this segment is made possible by Platinum Cadillac and Chevrolet in Terrell, Texas. Stop by and visit with my buddy Mr. Justin Rudd and his team of experts and let them put you in a new Chevy pickup or a Cadillac or whatever you might be in the market for. Also, the Choctaw Hunting Lodge up in southeast Oklahoma. Check them out at ChoctawHuntingLodge.com. Also made possible by Pyramid Air, your one-stop shop for everything airgun related. Well, friends, we have talked a bunch of hunting. Mr. Weishuhn got everybody fired up for the deer hunting he's talking about. Let's go down to Lake Fork. One of my old-time buddies, Dennis Canada, has been guiding down there for I don't know how long, a long time. Dennis, thank you for being with us, buddy. Thanks for being here.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Winter bass fishing. Okay. There's just a whole ton of serious trophy hunters out there for those big lunker bass. Now, Lake Fork is well known for that.
Yes, sir.
You got to want to get out there in that cold weather, and you got to be devoted to catch one of those big ones. So, I mean, it's a lot of people do it, though, and I know a lot of your clients they wait for this time of year. The reason being, I guess, the next few couple of months or whatever, the bass, those female bass are going to be the heaviest they're ever going to be, right?
Yes, sir. Yeah, they're starting to feed up, They'll do it all winter,
Well, of course, this is, end of December now when this is airing. And some tips maybe. I know enough about it to ask the right questions. I've fished with you and others in the wintertime like that, but don't expect all the time a fast bite. Is that a correct statement or not?
Yeah, it kind of just depends on the weather, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, just like any time of the year, Lake Fork bass and bass in general, but they're really hypersensitive here to just consistent weather, whether it be real hot, real cold, like, all the fronts and all the things going on really affect them and mess up the bite. So usually in the winter, it's just like the summer. Once it gets kind of cold and it stays down on a fairly consistent temperature, they will start to pattern, and they can be in a lot of places. The lake's turned over, the entire water column's oxygen, and then the water temperatures are different, in the back of the coves and in the main lake. So you got a lot of different kind of patterns you can run in the wintertime.
A lot of variables there. But,
sir.
When you brought that up, I just happened to think right near my house, there's about 8 or 10 acre, it's a deep gravel pit. And it has been no native bass in it. It's lots of bass. And I go down there, I hunt pretty close to there within walking distance. I throw my rod and reel in my truck, and I've got a big old rattle trap that they have been biting. I've noted every day. I'll go. I might even want a couple of bass for lunch. I'll throw that rod and reel in there, and I'll swing by there and say, okay, I'm gonna catch 2 bass, eater size. Well, they're all basically eater size out of that. And it just as regular as clockwork. Catch, 2 or 3 bass on 4 or 5 casts. That's the type place it is. It's a spring-fed little lake. Well, so before this last front hit, I did the same thing. I thought, I think I'm going to catch a couple more. I couldn't stand it. I just got out there and made 2 or 3 or 4 casts, 5, 6, 8 casts. Never had that happen. But the temperature dropped hard. It was a freeze overnight. And I know that now that's on a small scale thing, but those same bass probably when the temperature stabilizes, cold every day, might be able to catch them on a slower, maybe a worm or something. Interesting.
Yeah,
though.
I think so. I think so too. You just got to keep going and trying to, trying those different patterns.
Yep. But that's what you brought up though is really an interesting and a fact that the change sometimes. Whatever that weather change may be, that does throw fishing off at times, doesn't it?
It does. And I mean, like I say, now Lake Fork is a fabulous lake. And I'm telling you, everybody that's listening, there is a ton of big fish in Lake Fork still.
No question.
I mean, there is no doubt about it. And so just to give you an example of it, like this last year, was a little bit off because we had a lot of cold, a lot of rain all through the spring and all the way into summer, and it just kind of threw it off. Well, the 2 prior years in the springtime, I know we're talking about winter, but it goes back to the weather pattern change, and they were just absolutely the prior 2 were fabulous, big fish, a lot of big fish, but the weather was stable and warm and right.
That's the key.
That's how important that is, to get the right kind of weather.
Being out there, of course, this is well into December. Say January, the water temperature is going to be roughly out on the main lake. It's going to be what, in the 50s maybe?
Well, it's been, see, we just got a little cold. It's been
Mhm.
pretty warm, you know, had a little rain.
Yep.
It's been about 64.
Yeah.
But it's dropping down. And I would imagine this morning it's probably 60 to 58. You know,
yeah.
I came over the lake and it was just fog just coming off, so it's cooling off right now.
Yeah.
But so it's going to be, and so that temperature, the importance of that is, you know, people think, oh, it gets wintertime and it's too cold to catch them. Fish will be super easily caught at 50 degrees.
Okay. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Excuse me.
So they'll be when in January, say Christmas time or whatever. It'll probably be down in the 50s. I'm just guessing.
Yeah, you know, Texas. You know, it could be 42 or 60. You know,
exactly.
Probably in an average, it'll be in there.
Yeah. So at that point, now baits and techniques, Dennis. Say cold. Let's just say when winter, it's just now beginning to get steady winter weather. But say 2 or 3 weeks from now, whenever, first of the year, patterns, baits, and stuff that you'll be going to. Dennis, kind of expound on that a little bit.
Well, all right. So it's a jig, and a jig. No, I'm just kidding. I used to do that years ago. I mean, and I would just throw a jig 7 days a week. You know, you know, I do use a jig. There's we do have a lot of vegetation this year around shallow, and the water's down about 2.5 foot, which doesn't hurt anything. You know? We have a lot of shallow vegetation. So those fish, till that water temperature gets down below 47, 48, they'll stay up in there, in that shallow water. And I remember a couple of years ago, I caught fish on a jig all through December into January in 4 to 6 foot of water.
Yeah. Okay. So,
and there wasn't any, and I was just flipping a jig and throwing a Carolina rig. And they were just in timber, you know, on little secondary points and tree lines and stuff in pretty shallow water.
Yep. So I remember from years past, the Carolina rig, you do like to fish that, don't you, Dennis? You know it?
Well, it's kind of a seasonal, all year, I guess, thing. A Carolina rig is just kind of a finesse type thing. It's a slow mover, and I've caught a lot of big fish on it. And then I've just caught thousands of numbers on it too. You know, but it's just a presentation. You know, if they're kind of semi with 2 or 3, 4 foot of the bottom, that it's just a subtle deal that they'll eat it generally pretty consistently all year.
You bet. Dennis, describe the leader and all on the Carolina rig that you usually use. You know, and the bait.
Okay, I usually use a 1 ounce weight, a 1 ounce bullet weight, or a 1 ounce barrel weight. And I use those Carolina keepers. And you got to put 2 of those on. They're really good. You don't have to tie a swivel or anything on there.
Okay.
And really good. I've been using them for 35 years. As soon as they came out, I found those and started using them. And I've never broke. It's a really good thing. So, but anyway, and then I use a small hook. I'll usually run me about a 36 to 42. Sometimes I'll throw a 4 foot leader. You know, I've even thrown them up to 6, 7 foot long at certain different times in the summer. But you just basically take that thing, you know, put that thing on a 3 or 4 foot leader, and whatever bait you're going to use kind of a smaller hook to let that bait do its kind of free float. You know, and just throw it out. I usually put my tip down and just kind of inchworm it, just drag it, and don't get any hurry.
Real slow, yeah.
Let it set, you know, and then if you feel something funny, then you kind of initiate the pressure and start reeling, and you'll kind of feel them start to load the rod, and you hit them. But it's a subtle deal. But there's times when they'll take it and try to pull the rod out of your hand.
Yeah, right. Now the jig itself, the jig itself, Dennis, describe it. What kind of, you know?
Well, I've been throwing kind of like a little finesse jig. I don't know, not under a 1/2 ounce, green pumpkin with a little chartreuse. I mean, a little orange and a green pumpkin crawl worm, little speed crawl.
Mm-hmm.
And I fish that I'll fish that 20 foot of water. I'll fish it in 3 foot of water, but usually I'm just pitching that thing at timber, or throwing it out on a creek edge, or to the edge of grass. And I cast them, and I've cast and flipped both, and I've been catching some around docks with it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just a deal where it's a slow deal too, for your bigger fish, for in general fish, but you just throw it out, let it go to the bottom, let it sit. And I kind of leave a little bow out in my line, and just kind of a little bump with the rod tip, and just fish it. The old saying, Luke, I know you've heard it because it's funny. If you think you're going too slow, we'll slow down a little bit.
Seems like I did hear that somewhere. Well, the jig itself, I know that's true. Yeah. So the jig itself, is it buoyant at all? I mean, or is it a weighted?
No, it goes.
Describe that.
Well, now you can throw a big heavy jig to get down on the grass or in the cover, but I like to throw a little bit lighter one. And sometimes I've added, if I'm throwing the heavier one, I've added 2 skirts to bulk it up, just trying different things, trimming the skirt and different size trailers and whatnot. And that's just a preference of the angler where you can just experiment with that. But usually I like to throw it and where it's not just shooting directly to the bottom. Because sometimes you throw a little lighter jig, they'll hit it on the fall.
Yep.
Or when you pull off a limb. Go to drop it.
Well, Dennis, I tell you what, I love to get you on and let you talk technique, and you've had so much, many decades of doing this. We're just about out of time, but one thing that I'd like to mention is, I guess I got this from Bill Dance years ago. I bet I've recorded, oh my gosh, no telling how many hours of radio with Bill. And, everybody that followed his career knows he's a worm fisherman from way back.
Right.
Well, I am too, a Texas rig. I mean, I fish Carolinas with guys like you some, but when you're using that Texas rig, you're moving it. You better be in contact with that weight all the time and feel it.
Yes.
But it's a different bite, like you described earlier with a Carolina rig. It's a heavy feeling, or when you feel something.
Well,
yeah.
So what you have is you got that. Now I get a lot more bites using a 1 ounce weight. I don't know either if I'm in 3 foot of water or 25 foot of water.
Yeah.
It's just a trick. People go, oh no, you go shallow, use a little bitty weight. Well, I see that all the time, and that guy's not getting bit in my boat.
Yep.
For some reason they like
not happening.
Drag.
Right. Yep.
So what it is, the reason the bite's so much different is you got that weight dragging into the bottom, and you've got that thing out there 3 or 4 foot behind it. Okay. So they can pick that up, kind of subtly pick that up, and you don't really realize it. So you got to kind of keep your line tight and stay in contact with it. So if I feel something weird, which is usually a fish, I will immediately start reeling the handle and getting to that weight and get the slack out of that leader. And the second that I feel that thing start to get spongy, it's a fish. You set the hook. So it's a little different than the Texas. And don't get me wrong, I love a Texas rig in the summer and stuff. In fall, I throw it all the time too. But it, that old tap, and you just drop it.
Yeah, right.
Hook, you're a direct line on it, So
It's
the Carolina rig is a little different. But it's a different technique. The Texas rig is going up and down like the jig, hitting it and you're pumping it and pulling it over stuff. And then that Carolina rig is just a slow drag. So it's just, it's a different technique. And all those things, like you said, you could talk technique for 3 days.
Oh,
different little tricks.
Everybody's got their own little different way. Well, you did a good job of describing the Carolina rig, Dennis. How about leaving a phone number? People that folks, if you want to go to Lake Fork and catch a big bass, here's your man right here, Dennis, Canada. How do they call you, Dennis?
Well, my number is 903-335-6524. That's my cell number. So you can text me, call me. And I just answer the phone pretty quick.
Readily available.
Wants to go.
You are.
Yeah, I'm readily available.
Well, Dennis, thanks a lot. And folks here in Texas and Arkansas and Louisiana listening, you know where Lake Fork is. If you listen to the podcast later, it's a hot a great place to go bass fishing in the wintertime. Dennis, thanks a lot, buddy. We'll get you back in a few weeks and let you give us an update. How about that?
Yes, sir, Luke. I appreciate it, and Merry Christmas, everybody. I hope everybody has a good holiday, you included, and we need to get together and go fishing, buddy.
Amen, brother. For about the past decade, I've been hunting editor for Airgun Hobbyist magazine. I think the only magazine devoted strictly to airgun shooting and hunting in the country. Well, in that length of time, I've learned quite a bit about big bore air guns and smaller calibers too. A spot to go to that if you're interested in air guns, you need to know about Pyramid Air. The website is PYRAMYD, pyramidair.com. They have anything and everything you need, from the guns themselves, the big bores or the smaller calibers, to the accessories. Just remember pyramidair.com, and there's a number when you get on the website if you need to call and talk to somebody. Give them a buzz, and they can fill you in on little details that you might need to know about shooting or hunting with big bore air guns.
The snowflakes fall as winter comes, and time just seems to fly.
Friends, this segment is brought to us by CVA muzzleloaders. In my opinion, the very best muzzleloaders in the world, the ones that I shoot. You can check them out online, cva.com. Kuby's Wild Game Processing and Kuby's Restaurant in Dallas, and Vineyard Max, maker of some awesome deer attractant and some very fine game feeders and fish feeders, located down in Nacogdoches, Texas. Check them out at vineyardmax.net. Folks, I want to introduce you to some good friends of mine at Dash for Cash Pawn Shop in Seagoville, Texas, located at 133 Hall Street. The phone number is 972-287-3121. Go by there and talk with Gary or Randy, the owner. They're great people. They've got some great prices. Again, that's the Dash for Cash Pawn Shop, Seagoville, Texas, 972-287-3121. Welcome back, my friends. It is your old buddy Luke Clayton, and I hope you've enjoyed our show thus far. We've had some interesting and entertaining folks on today, everything from deer hunting talk to catching big bass down at Lake Fork. Thanks to all the radio stations that see fit to run this show. It's a unique show. We're actually like a bunch of guys and gals around a campfire. That's the way I like to present it, and I hope that's the way it comes across, because, you know, we're kind of informal around here, but we do. If you listen long, you'll probably pick up some real nuts and bolts tips that will help you with your outdoor hunting and fishing and camp cooking, the whole genre of things that we do outdoors. I want to tell you about a catfish pattern. I think we have time in today's show for me to cover this briefly, but it's called splatting, S-P-L-A-T-T-I-N-G, splatting. Now, this is a technique for catching winter catfish that I first wrote about 30 years ago. The cormorants are a migratory bird, and they're under federal protection. You can't hunt them, you can't shoot them. There's a lot of pond owners that wish that wasn't so, that are stocked with bass and other fish, but cormorants are very, very efficient fish catchers and eaters. They catch a lot of fish, and they eat a lot of fish. Actually, in China and Japan, the old school fishermen used to put little nooses around a cormorant's neck so that it could swallow a bait fish, but when it caught the big fish that they wanted to eat, it remained in their throat. There's a sack there on their throat, and they'd pull the bird in and get the fish out and throw him back out there. And I guess if they didn't allow him to at least swallow those little bait fish, they wouldn't catch the big ones. But cormorants are serious fish eaters. They have a hooked bill, and the technique splatting started back, I first remember hearing about it and doing it over 30 years ago. If you get on any lake, usually the upper end of the lake, you'll find a lot of standing timber. Most all of our lakes have it. And you'll see some of those, most of them, many of them will be like whitewash. Someone has painted them white. Well, that's the cormorant droppings. Those cormorants, they migrate in the wintertime into Texas. You'll see some throughout the summer, but not many. In the winter, they're here by the thousands. And they roost at night. Like any migratory bird, they'll roost over water, but instead of rafting up in the water like a duck or a goose, they'll roost on those trees. We call them cormorant trees. But they're easy to spot. They're whitewashed. They've been painted white. Splatting gets its name from a fisherman gave it that name. Ease up there in your boat, because you don't want to do this on a real windy day. You want it to be pretty calm, within a casting range of one of these roost trees. And I like to bait up with, a big shad is excellent, but a big chunk of, not big, but, about a 1-inch cube or bigger of cut bait. It could be cut brim. I don't think the type of bait is as important as that splat. Now, think about it. If you were a big catfish laid up under these trees, they're waiting for those birds to drop that partially digested bait fish into the water. That's why they're there. They're feeding on that. Well, so you're out there, you want to use a lot of people use a popping cork like you use down on the coast, that you throw out with a jig under it for speckled trout. You jerk that bait, that cork. But a big, heavy weighted cork, something that will go splat when it hits the water surface, is what you want to use. And then just a good stout hook. And one of these pieces, you could use anything from punch bait to whatever, because I don't think the bait is as important as the splat. Those fish are waiting for another droppings to hit the water under those cormorant roost trees. So make your cast out, and you'll hear it. You want that cork and all to splatter on the surface, and usually, very often, you'll pull 3, sometimes 4 catfish out from under one tree, and the bite, you don't have to sit there watching that cork like you were brim fishing. As soon as that thing hits the water, within 5 seconds, if those fish are there, one will nail it and that cork will disappear. It's a fun way to catch fish. Blue cats, channel catfish too. I've caught some big blues doing the splatting technique. So I thought that'd be something I'd share with you. You have to be careful because of the wind and all, because you're going to be out there in timber, and also be real careful on lakes. Most of our Texas lakes have been around a long time. A lot of that timber is dead. I would not fish close. Try to stay away from, in case you had any falling timber. Some of those old dead trees, the limbs will fall if you bumped it with a boat. So stay back away from it, say, 30, 40 feet, a good distance, and within easy casting range, and lob that bait in so it'll really splat when it hits the water, like it's falling vertically, and you will catch you some catfish in the wintertime. Folks, I appreciate you being with me. I have been busily working on an article for Gun Digest next year, which is the Bible of shooters, and has been around for, I think, 80 years. But I have an assignment to write about air guns. So I've been hunting with some big heavy-duty air guns the past couple of months, and I got a deer, been doing some hog hunting with them, got a bunch more of that to do. So that's kind of what I've been up to. I hope all of you have a very Merry Christmas. It's just right around the corner here. It's amazing that it's already come about this quick, but cool weather finally hit here in Texas a couple of weeks ago and picked the deer hunting up, and it probably did more for the deer hunters than it did for the deer, because it got everybody in the mood to get out and hunt. Hope you enjoyed our show. I'm going to wrap it up right now. Remember, you can always contact me at catfishradio.org. You can go to catfishradio.org, and my email address is there. If you'd like to be a guest on this show, I welcome you. I promise you I'll get back with you if you want to send me an email. Till this time next week, folks, be safe in the outdoors and have fun. Folks, that about wraps our show up for this week. I've enjoyed being with you, and I hope you've had a good time, too. And, folks, we're also brought to you by the Choctaw Hunting Lodge up in southeast Oklahoma, located about, 45 minutes west of Hugo, Oklahoma, owned by the Choctaw Nation. It's about 45,000 acres of awesome mountain, country, hills, valleys, loaded with game. Lots of eastern turkey, and they do eastern turkey hunts if you're looking for a spot to hunt turkey in the spring.